Let me ask you something. Are you ready to discover the 10 most powerful phases that happen when you finally choose silence? When you finally stop begging for attention, stop trying to prove your worth, and let your absence do all the talking. I'm about to walk you through exactly what happens in their world when you disappear. These 10 phases of transformation are going to show you why your silence isn't just powerful. It's absolutely devastating to someone who took you for granted. You've been there, haven't you? Being the one who's always available. The one who drops everything when they call. The one who puts their needs first, their feelings first, their life first. The reliable one. The constant one. The one they knew would never leave. And what did they give you in return? Breadcrumbs. Mere fragments of the love you deserved. They took your loyalty and treated it like an assumption. Your devotion. They wore it like a comfortable old coat, always there when they needed it, easily discarded when they didn't. You've tried everything, haven't you? The long conversations explaining your feelings, the tears shed hoping they'd finally understand. The countless times you swallowed your pride and reached out first. Maybe you even found yourself begging, just hoping for a crumb of the love you were pouring out. But nothing changed. Nothing ever changed. Well, today everything changes. Because these 10 phases of silence are about to show you exactly how your absence becomes the loudest message they'll ever receive. I'm going to reveal every single stage they go through when you finally walk away, from that first moment of shock all the way to their complete unraveling. This isn't just about disappearing. This isn't about playing games. This is about understanding the profound power you hold when you finally choose yourself. When you finally stand up and say, enough. When you finally realize that your absence is about to become the most powerful statement you've ever made. You're about to discover how your silence becomes a force so powerful it will either break them down or wake them up. Either way, you win. So if you're ready to reclaim your power, if you're ready to turn your pain into purpose, if you're ready to watch them realize exactly what they lost, stay with me, because these 10 phases of silence, they're about to change everything. Hit that like button if you're ready for this transformation, and let's dive into exactly what happens when your silence becomes your superpower. Number 1, the first shock of your absence. Let's dive into what's happening right now. That first stage when they realize you're actually gone. Not just busy, not just taking a break, but gone. You see, they're used to having you there, aren't they? Like a comfortable chair they could always fall back on. That person who'd respond within minutes. That heart that would always understand. That soul that would drop everything just to be there. But now, silence. Complete silence. And here's where most of us mess up. We start feeling that ache, that pull to just check in. Maybe send that tiny text, just to let them know we're still around. Maybe post something on social media, hoping they'll notice. Maybe find some excuse to reach out. Don't. Listen closely. Every time you break that silence, you're throwing away your power. Every little, hey, how are you? Every just checking in. Every indirect attempt to get their attention. It's like giving away pieces of your strength. But here's what's really powerful. This silence isn't about sitting in your room, staring at your phone, waiting for them to realize what they've lost. No. This silence is about redirecting all that beautiful energy you were pouring into them back into yourself. Think about it. How much time did you spend thinking about them, planning around them, trying to make them happy? Now that energy, it's yours again. While they're out there, starting to feel that emptiness where your presence used to be, you're going to be building something incredible. A stronger you, a more resilient you, a you that doesn't need their validation to shine. Let me tell you something the ancient Stoics understood. True power isn't in making noise. It's in the ability to step back and let consequences unfold naturally. As Seneca said, silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings. And right now, your silence is teaching them the most powerful lesson they could learn, what life feels like without your light in it. Some of you might be wondering, but what if they don't care? What if they don't even notice I'm gone? Here's the truth. If they don't feel your absence, they never deserved your presence in the first place. And finding that out now, that's a gift, because it frees you to direct your energy toward people who will truly value it. Remember this affirmation. My silence is not empty, it's full of truth. Say it again, believe it. Because every moment you maintain this silence, you're not just showing them what they lost, you're showing yourself what you're worth. Stay with me, because what comes next, that's where things get really interesting. We're about to dive into how their mask of indifference starts cracking, and trust me, you'll want to hear this. Number 2, behind their mask of indifference. Let's talk about what's happening right now. They're putting on a show, acting like your silence isn't shaking their world. Maybe they're posting more than ever on social media. Maybe they're out there, laughing louder, smiling bigger, trying to prove to everyone and themselves that they're completely fine. But let me tell you what's really going on behind that mask. You see this mask of indifference? It's like a shield they're holding up, not just to protect themselves from the world, but to protect their ego from a truth they're not ready to face. They're playing a dangerous game of pretend, hoping that if they act unaffected long enough, maybe they'll actually start believing it. And I know, this is where it gets hard for you. Because seeing them act like you never mattered, like your absence is just a blip in their radar, it cuts deep. It makes you question everything. Some of you are sitting there right now, finger hovering over your phone, thinking, maybe I should just reach out. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong here. Stop. Here's what you need to understand about their mask of indifference. It's their first line of defense when they start losing control. Think of it like a poker player with a weak hand, bluffing to hide their vulnerability. They're not showing strength, they're hiding weakness. Behind those carefree social media posts, behind that exaggerated laughter, there's a storm brewing. Every notification that isn't from you, every moment they reach for their phone and remember they can't just call you anymore, it's cracking their foundation. As Marcus Aurelius said, the simple truth is that the world cannot touch the soul. Their act of indifference, it can't touch your worth. It can't diminish your value. If anything, it's revealing their truth. Here's where you need to be stronger than ever. Because this mask they're wearing, it's designed to make you crack first. They're betting on your heart being too big, your love being too strong. They're waiting for you to break the silence. But remember this, real strength isn't in their pretense, it's in your patience. While they're out there putting on their show, you're going to be doing something far more powerful. You're going to be growing, evolving, becoming stronger. Let them wear their mask. You're busy building your empire. Number 3, when regret starts creeping in. Now we're entering the phase that hits them where it hurts, the slow, painful dawn of regret. Remember that mask of indifference they were wearing? Well, it's getting heavier now. Those fake smiles, they're starting to strain. Because here's what's happening in their quiet moments. When they're alone at night, when their phone is silent, when there's no one around to perform for, that's when regret starts whispering to them. And this isn't just any kind of regret. This is the kind that burns. They're starting to replay everything in their mind. Every moment they took you for granted. Every time they chose something else over you. Every opportunity they had to show you respect, to show you value, to prove that they understood what they had and didn't. As Seneca once said, while we are postponing, life speeds by. And now, they're feeling the weight of every postponed thank you, every missed chance to appreciate you, every moment they could have chosen differently. It's like they're watching a movie of all their mistakes playing on repeat in their mind. But here's the twist. They can't hit pause. They can't turn it off. Your silence has become the soundtrack to their regret. Some of them might try to push it away. They might try to blame you, try to convince themselves that they were right. But regret, it's patient, it waits, it builds. Every time they reach for their phone to tell you something funny, every time they have a success they want to share, every time they face a challenge and realize their support system is gone, that's when regret digs its claws in deeper. And I know what some of you are thinking right now. Maybe I should ease their pain. Maybe I should let them know it's okay. But listen closely. Their regret isn't your burden to carry. Their awakening isn't your responsibility to manage. This is their journey through the consequences of their choices. You see, real growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in that space between regret and revelation. They need to sit in this feeling. They need to understand exactly what they lost when they took you for granted. Here's your truth for this phase. Their regret is proof of my worth, not a call for my return. Say it again. Let it sink in. Because while they're drowning in what-ifs and should-haves, you're out there becoming someone even stronger, someone even more magnificent, someone who understands that another person's regret doesn't require your presence. And trust me, what comes next? That's when things get really interesting. Because when regret starts eating away at them, that's when they start making desperate moves. They start looking for replacements, trying to fill the void you left. Stay with me, because you need to be prepared for what happens when they realize that some people, some souls, some hearts are simply irreplaceable. Number 4, trying to replace you with someone new. This is the phase where they try to escape the pain, the regret, the emptiness. Instead of facing their own choices, they look for an easy way out, a shortcut, a distraction. They might start spending time with someone new, jumping into a new relationship, or surrounding themselves with people who keep them busy. They think a new face, a new connection, will make them forget the impact of your absence. But we know the truth, don't we? This isn't moving on, it's running away. They might post on social media, sharing pictures of their nights out or their so-called new connections, hoping it convinces them, and maybe even you, that they're perfectly fine without you. But deep down, these distractions are nothing but a weak attempt to fill the void, a band-aid over a wound that keeps bleeding. Replacing you isn't as simple as finding someone new, and sooner or later they'll see this for themselves. And here's where you have to stand firm. Don't let their attempts to distract themselves shake your confidence or make you question your worth. If they truly valued you, they wouldn't be able to replace you with someone else so quickly. They might try, but that emptiness, it doesn't go away with a new person. If anything, it grows, because each day without you is a day they're forced to face the reality of what they lost. It's like trying to complete a puzzle with pieces that don't fit. No matter how they arrange it, it'll never feel whole. And even if you see them with someone new, remember this: their actions don't define your worth. Trying to replace you doesn't mean they've moved on. It just shows they don't have the courage to sit with their own discomfort. A new person is nothing more than a placeholder, a way for them to avoid confronting the truth of what they lost. This is the stage where you remind yourself, I am irreplaceable. My value cannot be duplicated or substituted. Say it with conviction. Stand by this truth, because it's the foundation of the strength you're building. You're showing them that your worth isn't something they can just trade out and forget. Your silence is proof of your resilience, and no one else can match what you brought into their life. So let them run. Let them try to fill the gap with temporary fixes. In time, they'll realize there's no shortcut to replacing something real. And if they don't, then they've done you the favor of revealing that they never deserved the genuine connection you offered. Let them settle for what they think they need, while you continue to grow, becoming the person who knows they can't be replaced by anyone or anything. Remember, this isn't a loss for you, it's clarity. You're not just holding steady in silence, you're showing them and yourself that your value is something they'll never find again. Their attempts to replace you only highlight what they're truly missing, and sooner or later, the emptiness they feel will speak louder than any distraction ever could. Number 5, when their world starts unraveling. Now we're getting to the heart of it, the moment when everything they built without you starts falling apart. Not with a bang, but with a slow, steady crumble that they can't ignore anymore. You see, they didn't just lose you. They lost their foundation, their safety net, that quiet strength you brought to their life that they never fully appreciated until it was gone. And now the cracks are starting to show. Maybe they're making mistakes at work. Maybe their other relationships are feeling hollow. Maybe they can't focus like they used to. Maybe their decisions aren't working out quite right. It's like trying to build a house on shifting sand. Nothing seems stable anymore. As Marcus Aurelius said, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Well, their universe is changing, and their thoughts, they're finally catching up to the reality of what they lost. Those replacements they tried to fill your space with, they're starting to see through them. Those distractions they buried themselves in, they're wearing thin. That mask of, I'm doing great without you, it's cracking under pressure. And I know some of you are feeling that pull right now, that urge to reach out, to help, to be the stability they're missing. Some of you are thinking, maybe if I just check on them. But listen closely. You are not responsible for holding their world together. You are not their backup plan. You are not their emergency support system. Their world is unraveling because they built it on the assumption that you'd always be there, even while they took you for granted. They constructed their life thinking your strength would always be available to them, even while they disrespected it. Their chaos is not your responsibility. Their stability was your gift, not their right. Let that sink deep into your soul, because while their world is spinning, you're building something beautiful, a life that's stable, strong, and completely yours. While they're struggling to keep things together, you're discovering just how capable you are on your own. And trust me, what comes next? That's when the real pain hits them. That's when they face the emptiness that no distraction can fill, no replacement can cover, no mask can hide. Number 6. The crushing weight of the silent void. Now we're entering the deepest phase, when all their distractions fade away, when their replacements prove hollow, when their masks crack completely. This is when they face what they've been running from, pure, unfiltered silence. And let me tell you, this silence, it's deafening. Remember how they used to have you there? Your good morning texts, your voice at the end of a long day, your presence in those quiet moments. Now, there's nothing but emptiness where your warmth used to be. It's like being in a room where the music suddenly stops. The silence isn't just quiet, it's loud with your absence. And this void, it follows them everywhere. when they wake up alone with their thoughts, during those random moments when something reminds them of you, late at night when they can't sleep, in the middle of crowded rooms where they feel more alone than ever, during their successes when they have no one to truly celebrate with, through their struggles when they need that specific kind of support only you could give. As Seneca wisely noted, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. And right now, they're learning just how much courage it takes to live with the void they created. Because here's what makes this void so powerful. It's not just about missing you. It's about facing everything they took for granted. Every small kindness they overlooked. Every moment of support they didn't appreciate. Every piece of love they didn't return. Think of it like oxygen. You don't realize how much you need it until it's gone. That's what your presence was to them. And now they're gasping in the void. They're not just missing what they had, they're facing who they were. And that person who took you for granted, they don't like them very much. And I know some of you are feeling that pull again, that urge to reach out, to ease their pain, to fill this void for them. Maybe you're thinking they've suffered enough. But listen closely. This void isn't your burden to fill. This emptiness isn't your responsibility to end. This silence isn't your cross to bear. Because while they're suffocating in the void of your absence, you're breathing deeper than ever in the freedom of your worth. My absence is teaching them what my presence couldn't. Say it again. Write it down. Let it become your shield against the urge to rescue them. Because while they're lost in this void, you're finding yourself. While they're struggling with emptiness, you're filling your life with purpose. While they're drowning in silence, you're learning to dance to your own rhythm. Number 7, the breakthrough. This is it. The moment everything changes. After all the masks have crumbled, after every distraction has failed, after the void has done its work, they're standing face to face with a reality they can't escape anymore. And what happens next? That's where real transformation begins. You see, they've reached that point where pretending isn't possible anymore. That moment when every defense mechanism has failed, when every excuse has run dry, when every alternative has proven hollow. They're finally seeing the truth, and it's transforming them. The ego that made them take you for granted. It's dissolving. The pride that kept them from valuing you. It's crumbling. The walls they built to avoid feeling, they're shattering. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And right now, their soul is being dyed with the deep colors of understanding and growth. This isn't just about missing you. This is about them finally seeing their patterns of taking genuine love for granted. Understanding the true cost of treating loyalty like it's optional. Recognizing how their actions push away the very people they should treasure. Learning that real connection isn't about convenience, it's about consistency. But here's the beautiful truth. Their growth is not your responsibility. Let me repeat that. Their transformation, not your problem. Because while they're going through this metamorphosis, you've already done the most important work. You've reclaimed your worth. You've found your strength. You've built a life that doesn't revolve around their validation. Some of you are sitting there thinking, but what if they've really changed? What if they finally get it? Here's what you need to remember. Understanding doesn't equal deserving. Growth doesn't erase history. Their awakening doesn't automatically earn them a place back in your life. Your healing isn't their invitation. Say this with me. Their transformation is their journey. My peace is my priority. This is where the real power lies, in knowing that while they're finally waking up to what they lost, you're already awake to what you've gained. The strength to choose yourself, the courage to maintain your silence, the wisdom to trust your worth, the power to put your peace first. You're not their lesson anymore. You're not their wake-up call. You're not their second chance. You are your own masterpiece, crafted from every moment you chose your worth over their convenience. As Epictetus taught us, no man is free who is not master of himself. And you? You've mastered the hardest lesson of all, that sometimes the greatest love you can show is walking away. So stand tall in your silence, stand firm in your worth, stand strong in your truth, because while they're just beginning to understand what they lost, you've already become someone they could never take for granted again. Remember this, their story of realization might be just beginning, but your story, it's already soaring, and this new chapter, it's all about you. Number 8, when your power becomes undeniable. The tables have turned, haven't they? Look at you now, absolutely glowing, and they can feel it, they can sense it. Something's different about you, and it's driving them crazy. You know what's fascinating? They thought this silence was temporary, just another phase, just another emotional reaction that would fade. They were sitting there, comfortable in their arrogance, thinking you'd eventually come running back, thinking you'd return to being that person they could take for granted. But that's not what happened, is it? Instead, they're watching you transform, not just surviving, thriving. Every time they catch a glimpse of you, whether it's in person or through social media, they see someone they barely recognize. Not because you've changed who you are, but because you've finally become who you were always meant to be. As Seneca once said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Well, look at the opportunities flowing into your life now. That promotion you got, that new venture you started, that confidence in your step, that peace in your smile. That's not luck. That's what happens when you stop dimming your light for someone else's comfort. Here's what's really messing with their head. They can't take credit for any of it. They can't say, oh, they're doing well because of me. They can't pretend they had any part in your glow-up. No, they have to sit there and watch you bloom completely without them. And that's the kind of reality check no amount of denial can ignore. But let's talk about something even more powerful. The way your energy has shifted. You're not making decisions based on their potential reactions anymore. You're not filtering your joy through the lens of their comfort. You're not holding back your success to make them feel better. You're just flying. And here's the beautiful irony. The higher you soar, the more they realize what they lost. It's like they're watching a movie they walked out of, only to realize it became a masterpiece after they left. Except this isn't a movie, this is your life. And they're not just missing the show, they're missing the whole revolution. Some of you might be tempted to show them, to prove to them, to let them see up close just how well you're doing. But here's a truth that might shake you. Your success doesn't need their validation. Your growth doesn't need their witness. Your power doesn't need their recognition. Because this version of you, the one that's sparkling with authentic joy, the one making power moves, the one living life on their own terms, this version was always there, just waiting for the space to emerge. Your silence didn't create this power, it just finally gave it room to breathe. And trust me on this, what they're seeing now, this isn't even your final form. You're just getting started. That fire in your eyes, it's just warming up. That confidence in your step, it's just finding its rhythm. That success you're creating, it's just the foundation. Keep that momentum going. Keep that energy rising. Keep that authentic joy flowing. Because the view from where you're standing, it's nothing compared to where you're headed. And while they're stuck watching from the sidelines, wondering how they let someone so magnificent slip away, you'll be too busy soaring to even notice they're still looking up. Number 9. Breaking free from the chains of hope. Let's talk about something that's been quietly holding you back. That little spark of hope you've been keeping alive. You know the one I'm talking about. That tiny voice that whispers, maybe one day. That secret part of you that's still waiting for them to become the person you needed them to be. That hidden dream of them finally realizing everything and making it right. It's time to set that hope free. Not because hope is bad, but because the wrong kind of hope can become a chain that keeps you tethered to a story that's already ended. You see, while you've been growing, while you've been transforming, while you've been reclaiming your power, this little flame of hope has been sitting in the corner of your heart, taking up space that could be filled with something much more beautiful, possibility. As Marcus Aurelius said, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. But notice, he didn't say stay bound to people fate has separated you from. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is accept that some chapters are meant to close. This isn't about being bitter. This isn't about closing your heart. This is about opening your life to new possibilities. Because here's the truth. As long as you're holding on to hope for them, you're blocking the path for something better. It's like keeping a placeholder in your heart for someone who voluntarily gave up their seat. And I know some of you are thinking, but what if this is the wake-up call they needed? What if they're really changing? Here's what you need to understand. Their growth is beautiful, necessary even, but it doesn't mean they've earned a place back in your story. Sometimes people need to lose us to find themselves, and that's okay. But your growth isn't their invitation back. You've come too far to let old hopes hold you back. You've built too much to let outdated dreams limit you. You've become too powerful to let expired possibilities define your future. Your silence has created space for something magnificent. Don't fill it with hopes of what could have been. Instead, let's fill it with dreams of what could be. With visions of possibilities you haven't even imagined yet. With the kind of love that doesn't require you to make yourself smaller. The kind of connection that celebrates your growth instead of feeling threatened by it. Your freedom isn't just in the silence anymore. It's in the release. It's in finally letting go of that last thread of hope that's been keeping you looking back instead of forward. Because trust me, what's ahead of you? It's far more beautiful than anything you're hoping to revive from the past. And what comes next? That's when you truly spread your wings. When you finally feel what it's like to fly without the weight of old hopes holding you down. Stay with me, because we're about to talk about the ultimate power move. Choosing your future over your past. Number 10. The power of forward motion. Here's something beautiful happening right now. You're entering a phase where their opinion doesn't shape your choices anymore. Where their potential return doesn't influence your decisions. Where thoughts of them don't color your future. This isn't just freedom. This is flight. Remember when every decision came with a whisper of, what would they think? Remember measuring your joy against their possible reactions. Remember dimming your light to make them comfortable. Those days are gone now. You're moving forward with a momentum that can't be stopped by memories or maybes. As Seneca once said, life is like a play. It's not the length, but the excellence of the acting that matters. And now, you're finally starring in your own story. Not as a supporting character in someone else's drama, but as the main character in your own magnificent journey. You're making choices based on your dreams, not their comfort. You're pursuing opportunities without checking if they'll approve. You're building a future that doesn't have space for their limitations. This isn't about spite or showing them what they lost. It's about finally, truly, completely choosing yourself. And something magical happens when you move forward without looking back. Life starts responding differently to you. New doors open, fresh opportunities appear, better connections form. It's like the universe was waiting for you to stop holding yourself back, waiting for you to release those old anchors that kept you tied to the past. Some of you might be wondering, but what if I move too far forward? What if I become someone they can't recognize? Let me tell you something powerful. That's exactly the point. You're not meant to stay recognizable to people who couldn't see your value. You're meant to become so magnificently yourself that their limited version of you becomes obsolete. Your forward motion isn't just about physical distance or time passed. It's about energetic alignment with your true path. Every step forward is a step into your authentic power. Every new experience is a brick in the foundation of your rebuilt life. Every fresh connection is a thread in the tapestry of your new story. This isn't about forgetting. It's about growing so much that the past becomes a chapter rather than the whole book. It's about moving forward with such purpose that looking back feels like watching an old movie. You remember it, but it doesn't move you anymore. Your power isn't in proving them wrong anymore. It's in proving yourself right. Right about your worth. Right about your potential. Right about your ability to create a life that exceeds even your own expectations. And let me tell you something exciting. This forward motion you're feeling, this is just the beginning. You haven't even scratched the surface of what you're capable of. You're just starting to taste the freedom of unfettered flight. You're just beginning to experience life without the weight of their expectations, their limitations, their smallness. Keep moving forward. Keep choosing yourself. Keep building this beautiful life that's all yours. Because the view from here, it's nothing compared to where you're going. Let's wrap this journey up, folks. Take a moment and just feel how far you've come. From that first choice to embrace silence, through every stage of this transformation, you've been building something extraordinary. Not just a new chapter, but an entirely new book. You've watched them go through every phase we talked about, the mask of indifference that couldn't hide their truth, the desperate search for replacements that only proved you're irreplaceable, the void that showed them exactly what they lost, the realization that came too late, the sight of you rising, growing, glowing without them. But more importantly, you've watched yourself transform. Remember when silence felt impossible? When every unread message felt like a weight on your chest? When every day without contact seemed like climbing a mountain? Look at you now, standing tall, standing strong, standing in a power they never thought you'd find. Your silence wasn't just about teaching them a lesson, it became your revolution. Every quiet day wasn't just about their awakening, it was about your awakening. To your worth, to your strength, to the magnificent person you were always meant to be. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. And you've become something far greater than revenge. You've become free, free from their validation, free from their limitations, free from the smallness they tried to keep you in. Your story isn't about them anymore. It's about the person who learned to choose themselves when the world was telling them to beg for attention. It's about the soul who turned silence into strength, the heart that transformed pain into power. So here's what I want you to do right now. Close your eyes for a moment and feel this truth. You are not just surviving their absence. You are thriving in your presence. You are not just moving on. You are moving up. You are not just healing. You are transforming. Your silence spoke volumes. Your absence taught lessons. But most importantly, your strength showed you who you really are. A force that can't be ignored, diminished, or taken for granted ever again. For those of you still in the early stages of this journey, keep going. For those in the middle of the transformation, keep growing. And for those who've found their power, keep glowing. Because your story, it's becoming the kind that inspires others to find their own strength. Remember, in the end, it was never about their recognition. It was about your realization. Your realization that you were always enough, always worthy, always capable of this magnitude of growth. Stay powerful in your silence. Stay steady in your growth. Stay true to your worth. Because this journey you're on, it's far from over. In fact, the most beautiful chapters. They're still waiting to be written, and this time, you're holding the pen. Until next time, keep standing in your power. Keep choosing yourself. And never forget, your silence isn't just your superpower anymore, it's become your crown. And my friend, you wear it beautifully. Drop an "I choose me" in the comments if you're ready to keep walking this path of power. Let's remind each other that sometimes the quietest choices lead to the loudest transformations. Stay powerful, stay growing, stay glowing. Until next time.